Hi, you guys.
Hi. Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. I'm so excited to be here today.
So excited to see you.
Yeah, seriously, it's really going to be fun to talk to you guys about my experiences. I don't talk to people about this very much. I don't know, somehow it just was a long time ago, and we sort of talk about things in the here and now a lot. My name's David Kehoe, and I think it's really great that your teacher, who's also happens to be a friend of mine, and a friend, her daughter and my daughter are like this. She's got a great set of kids. As you guys may know already, have they met them?
Yeah, they've met.
Yeah.
You met the girls, right?
Yeah.
His daughter, I
You know
is
Shelby?
one of our favorite people.
You know Shelby Newland? Yeah, so anyway, so they're good buddies. Okay, so anyway, so obviously the reason why I came here today was to talk to you about some experiences I had a long time ago. And I don't know if this is part of your history section or not, but I never thought in my life I was going to be part of like history. I'm too young for that. But anyway, here I am. I even need glasses to help me read sometimes. But today what I want to tell you about is a couple of different things. And of course, it's all going to circulate around the fact that I was a member of the 1980 Olympic team in the sport of rowing. Okay. So how many people here know what rowing is as a sport? A couple hands up. Good. And how many people have ever seen these kinds of boats? Do you see that on the cover?
Yeah.
You see it on the Olympics right now? You see it on the Olympics right now? See what?
In 2012, I watched the rowing.
Cool. Cool. Well, that's really neat. And so these boats are like 65 feet long, and there's 9 people inside, and you have one blade, one oar for each person, and then one person steers it and kind of commands everything. And then the other 8 people row really hard for about just about a mile and a half or so. And that's the race in the Olympics, okay? And there's different kinds of boats. So there's this long one, which is an 8, and then there's shorter ones, which only have 4 people. And there's also boats that have 2 people, and then there's also what we call a single scull, where there's just one person. Huh?
Like a kayak?
It's different from a kayak. I mean, kayaking is an Olympic sport as well. But in kayaking, what you do is you face forward, and you have, you guys all know, you go like this, right? Paddle, and your legs are just like inside the boat, right? But in rowing, you actually sit backwards in the boat. So you're facing the back end of the boat, and you're on a sliding seat. And so you actually have your oar, and you actually push with your legs really hard and pull in like this, and that allows you to sort of pry the boat forward, okay? So you get a lot of power this way, and these kinds of boats can go pretty fast, actually, a lot faster, way faster than kayaks or most any other kind of, human-propelled boat. So anyway, okay, the first thing I just want to say here in terms of talking about stuff is, anytime you guys want to ask questions, just, raise your hand or blurt it out or whatever, okay? This is meant to be more of a discussion, and I was really lucky to have your teacher ask you for a list of questions that you might find interesting for me to answer. And so this is a great list, and I've been sort of thinking that they'll run today's session kind of off of this a little bit, okay? All right, so I guess the other thing before so we'll just start and kind of go where we go. Okay, where did I grow up? I'll start with the simple stuff. So both my parents are from the Chicago area, but I grew up all over the country and the world because my dad was in the military. He was a career military man. And so I happened to be born in Maryland because that's where they were at the time, and then lived all sorts of different places. I spent a lot of time down in Puerto Rico. Who knows where Puerto Rico is? Who knows where Cuba is? More hands. Who knows where the Caribbean is? The Caribbean? Anybody go down to Florida for vacation? Oh, come on. Everybody else knows where Florida is, right? So just south of Florida is the Caribbean Ocean, and Puerto Rico is an island in there. So I lived there a long time, and I actually didn't move back to America until I was 14 years old. Because my dad went to fight in the Vietnam War, which you guys may have talked about a little bit too. So we moved to California at that time. So I found myself at 14 years old out in California. I'd never been to the West Coast before, anything like that. And I went to middle school there and to high school, and then I decided to go to college. So when I was in high school, I wasn't a very good athlete, really. I wasn't one of these star people. I mean, I walked in, you guys all thought, gosh, he's tall, right? So everybody always asked me, do you play basketball, And I didn't even see a basketball until I was 14 years old, because in Puerto Rico, we didn't play basketball. We did a lot of outdoor sports. So the guy who at the high school asked me if I wanted to play basketball. I was completely, like no skill at all. So I ran track and I ran cross country, but that was pretty much it in high school. I wasn't like, you might think, oh, you're an Olympic athlete. You're like some star, athlete in high school or something. Nothing doing. Nah, I wasn't. I was just like a normal guy. In fact, I don't know. Probably wasn't even that good of an athlete. But I went to college, because I was in California. I went to college at a place called University of California in Santa Barbara. And that's kind of in the middle, along the coast, but in the middle of California. And while I was there, I was sort of looking for something to do. And there was a poster up that said, try out for a rowing team. And if you're tall, you could be good at it. And so I went to the first meeting. And then I just started going. And I started doing it. And I found out after a couple of years of hard work that, number one, and this is the most important thing, I really liked it. I liked being out on the water. I really enjoyed being there. I liked the camaraderie of my teammates. We were a tight group. And so I made a lot of friends. And then I was pretty good at it too. So anyway, what happened to me was after 3 years of being there, my coach dropped a bombshell. And he was a great coach. And he was good enough so that we actually went to the U.S. National Championships and took second place in the United States that year. And this was pretty good because we only had 12 people on our entire team. And we were racing against these clubs that had been around for hundreds of years at other schools. Anyway, he said, I'm getting out of coaching and you should go someplace. If you want to keep rowing, you should go someplace else. And he came up to me and he told me, listen, if you want to, I think you could be good enough to be an Olympic athlete. So I thought about that, and I thought about whether or not I want to stay with my friends in Santa Barbara or if I wanted to go someplace else and kind of keep working on my rowing career. So I decided I would move to University of Washington in Seattle, which has maybe one of the best rowing programs in the entire United States. Traditionally, it's a really powerful program, and it's got the team. I think the entire rowing program at University of Washington had about 300 people involved in it when I went there. Okay, so there were 300 other rowers that I was interacting with. That went up from 12 at Santa Barbara. So I was going from a small pond to a really big pond. And this book, this is called The Boys in the Boat. It's a very popular book right now. It's like New York Times bestseller list and stuff like that. This is about a group of guys, University of Washington, same school as what I went to, who actually qualified to represent the United States in the 1936 Berlin Olympics, okay? And this is at a time when Hitler had come to power and was really coalescing his power. And these were called the Hitler Olympics, okay? And it's a story about how these guys, this ragtag group of 9 people, got to the point where they actually won the Olympic gold medal, okay? And from that time on, the rowing program at the University of Washington has been really good. So I was fortunate enough to make the top boat at the University of Washington after being there for just a year. And so that was really great. And then I started trying out for national teams. Now, national teams in rowing, if you make a national team, then you go and you compete in the world championships, wherever they are. One year I went to Yugoslavia. That doesn't even exist anymore as a country. But anyway, it's in Europe. But in the Olympic years, the national team is also the Olympic team. So I tried for 2 years, and this is a really important point I wanted to make to you guys today. I started trying to make the Olympic team in 1970, or the national team in 1977. I drove this old car I had all the way from California out to the East Coast where the tryouts were to try out. I almost had no money at all, but I tried out, and there were 400 people trying out for the team. And they go through cuts, okay? So 200 people are cut after the first round, then another 100 people are cut after that, and they end up with 12 people at the end, okay? So the first year I tried, I got cut the first round. I was out of there. I was like, whoa, what happened? I didn't even, So I went back and I rowed harder, and I tried the next year, and I got cut again. And I still didn't make it. And then I thought, I forget this. I'm not going to be able to do this. And then one of my coaches said, don't give up. Don't give up. If you really want this, keep trying. Go back next year. I think you can do it. So I went back the next year, and I made my first national team. And then the second year, I made my only Olympic team. And so one of the main points I wanted to bring across to you guys was, maybe you're getting this already from what I say, but I wasn't some like stellar athlete that was just naturally completely gifted and I could have done any sport I wanted. 2, I worked really, really hard to make it onto the team. And 3, I never did give up till I got what I wanted. Okay, so anyway, so that's a little bit of the background so that you guys know, where I was coming from. So how old was I? So here's the questions. You know where I grew up. How old were you when you first started rowing? I think I was 17 years old. What made me want to enter? What made you want to enter the Olympics? That's a really good question and a tough question. My dad put a lot of discipline into me. He was in the military, and so I didn't have to do push-ups or anything when I was a little kid, but he taught me to always find the thing that I really wanted to do and then just to work really, really hard to achieve it. And even if you thought you couldn't do it. And so when my coach told me you could be an Olympic athlete, I thought, that's impossible. I could never do that. And then I thought, maybe I could do it. Maybe I should try. And then I decided, I'm going to try, and I'm going to really try to do it. So I think I viewed it as a challenge. And I kind of have run my whole life like that. Like you guys know, now I'm a professor in the biology department at IU, okay? And that wasn't an easy job to get either. That took a lot of work and such. But that was one of those things where I thought, I probably can't do this. And I thought, but I'm going to try anyway. And then I worked really, really hard, and I didn't give up. And then guess what? Now I'm a professor at IU, and I love my job. It's great. So that's main point is, if you like something, decide you're going to go with it, then just work really hard at it. Don't give up. Okay? Okay, so where I trained, obviously I trained in Santa Barbara, and then I trained a lot at University of Washington in Seattle, where I lived. And then we used to race a lot on the East Coast at various schools like Princeton and Harvard and Yale and Dartmouth and stuff like that. So that's where we trained. So I probably rode about 6 or 7 years by the time I made my Olympic team in 1980. And the one question is, how old were you in 1980? I was 23 years old. So that may seem like really old to you guys, but the average oarsman's age, I think, in the Olympics is probably around 28 or 29. So I was relatively young. You know how old's a typical gymnast age in the Olympics? Anybody know?
Like men, it's like 20, like late 20s. For women, it's the teen years.
Yeah. Anybody agree with that one? Yeah? Yeah. So different sports, you kind of mature at different times. So I think by the time a woman gymnast is 22, that's usually like towards the end of her career. Male rowers usually start peaking at a late 20s or something like that. So I was pretty young when I made the team, 23. And is it fun rowing? Somebody asked. Yeah, it's great rowing. I still row. There's a rowing club. Well, IU has a women's rowing program, and that's run by another former Olympian. His name is Steve, and he's quite a bit younger than me, but he has the rowing program out there. And then we also have a private rowing program called Riddle Point Rowing that I actually do coaching on for people not quite as young as you, but a little older than you, high school kids. Yeah, and I still row myself. So yeah.
So I think at Riddle Point there is a camp.
Camp.
Summer camp.
Mm-hmm. Camp Rock.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I went there.
Did you go there? Have you guys seen the new boathouse? Were you there this year?
No. I was here.
Did you see the new boathouse? Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? Yeah. So that was really great. Jeff Baldwin, who's the head of Boys and Girls Club, he and the Riddle Point Rowing Program sort of put it together to build that boathouse. So there's places to row around Bloomington, which is kind of unusual for a small town, but anyway. Okay, so what was it like being an Olympic athlete? That's the next topic. Sort of like, what's the Olympic experience? Well, first off, it was amazing to actually make an Olympic team, to reach that goal. But it wasn't like there was like confetti that came down or anything like that, or like bands playing or anything. I remember we had these tryouts, and the very last tryout before they made the final selections, the coach of the Olympic team, who was also the coach at Harvard University, he after we put all the boats away that day, and I was walking to the locker room to get showered up and to change, he came over to me. He just walked by me actually, and he goes, "Be here at 7:30 tomorrow morning." And that meant that I was still on the team, that I'd made the Olympic team. He didn't say, congratulations, you've made the Olympic team, or anything like that. He just said, be here at 7:30 tomorrow morning. It's like, I guess that means I made the team. Yay! And I went out on the dock, and I'm jumping around on the dock, yay, by myself completely, But then, of course, I called my family and told them, and then I could celebrate with my friends and stuff. But you make an Olympic team, and you go out on the street right after that, and nobody says anything to you, nobody knows you or anything. But it's a little different during the actual Olympics, obviously, because there's all this fanfare and there's television coverage and all this stuff. I didn't actually go to the Olympics. So what happened in the case of the rowing program was they started to select the Olympic team in January of 1980. Okay, so in the middle of January of 1980, we were down in Florida in tryouts trying to make the team. And I think it was by the beginning of March, the Olympic team had been decided, okay? Now you guys have been studying about what happened, right? You studied about President Jimmy Carter's actions and what happened in March of 1980. So who wants to tell me what happened in March of 1980? Yes, somebody who hasn't said anything, yeah.
He stated that if the Soviet Union did not move their troops out of Afghanistan, then the USA would not participate in the Olympic Games.
Right.
And like 65 other countries didn't participate as well.
Right.
Because they agreed with the US.
Right. And does anybody know what the popular opinion was in the United States? I mean, that's just a person on the street. You ask them, is it a good idea? You had your hand.
To do the boycott.
To do the boycott. Any percentage? You know the percentage approximately? Any idea what percent? Yeah.
2/3 of the.
That's right. 2/3 supported the boycott, right? Yeah. So that's a large percentage of the population. Usually, we don't usually get 2/3 of us agreeing on anything. So I mean that's pretty impressive. And the reason why was because I was a young man at the time. This invasion of Afghanistan was very serious. I mean, people were dying, being killed by the Russians, and it was horrible, really. And so people wanted to try to stop it, and they were trying to come up with ways that would avoid a war, going in and directly confronting the Russians. So it was a real dilemma, but it was a dilemma that actually we knew about even so far back as January of 1980. And I remember being at the tryout camp in Florida, and the coach took us all in the room one day, and he goes, I just want you to all know that there's a possibility that we may be boycotting the Olympic Games. And I want anybody who, and so it may be that you'll go through all the tryouts, you'll make the team, and then you'll not actually be able to compete in the Olympic Games. And he'd reduced the number down to about 60 at that point. So there were 60 young guys in the room. And he said, anybody who doesn't want to take this chance, anybody who doesn't want to take the risk of going through all the pain and effort of trying to make the Olympic team, because it might be boycotted, just get up right now and leave. And nobody got up and left. Everybody stayed, okay? So we knew that there was this possibility hanging over our heads. And when did somebody on this side of the room, when did President Carter actually announce the boycott? What month? Anybody know? Anybody remember? We'll sweep across this way. You know? Huh?
Was it? So the Olympics starts in.
Just start with January, kind of think about it. Ready? So January.
March.
Right, good. It was March, good. I was
Because
kind of.
remembering it was 3 months before the summer.
That's right.
That was fun.
That's right. So and I think you guys have watched
And 6 months, and a little less than 6 months before that.
That's right.
The summer.
Right. So you guys all watched this TV clip where he actually came into a room full of Olympians and announced his decision, right? And everybody's like very silent and very upset. I think the numbers for I don't remember exactly, but the numbers for the Olympians in terms of like, did we support it or did we not support it? I think about 25% or so, yeah.
I actually remember people who wanted to, I might have this wrong, I have the numbers right, but I don't remember which ones. 44 people wanted to go. 29 people wanted to stay and support the boycott, and 24 people didn't choose.
Yeah, I think the numbers that you have for the people who didn't choose and the people who want to support the boycott might have.
It was something.
I mean, there were about 450 people total on the U.S. Olympic team.
These are the
So-
people in the room with President Carter.
Oh, I see. Oh, so you're talking about the people in the room, yeah.
I think so.
And I think that that's not too far. Those numbers that you're saying are not too far off from how the whole team felt. I think the whole team, something like 2/3 of the team felt like we should go, and then the other third either felt like we shouldn't go or were undecided about it. So the Olympic team itself was split about what to do here. I mean, this is a pretty traumatic situation. One thing that you should realize is that when you make an Olympic team, there's not like one central place that everybody goes to make the Olympic team. Each sport holds its Olympic tryouts in a different place at a different time in a different way. And so as rowers, we were separated from the rest of the Olympians, and we really didn't know, for example, what was going on with track and field or what was going on with swimming, things like that, okay? And so the rowers as a group felt very strongly that we should go, but I think there was also maybe 25-30% of the rowers that felt like we should sacrifice the opportunity to go to the Olympics and not go. So my immediate reaction to being an Olympian, to realize I wasn't going to the Olympics, well, I was really, really upset. And I think, and so I actually sat down, and last night I was going through some stuff, and I actually found that these are 3 pages of notes that I wrote in March of 1980 to President Carter. I copied them over again. These are just my notes, explaining all the reasons why I didn't think we should boycott. At that time, so I was really upset. And I wasn't upset because we would boycott. I was upset because I didn't actually think that it was a very good idea. I didn't think it would be effective in deterring the Russians, and it didn't. And later on, actually, President Carter, maybe 10 years ago or so, I saw him quoted as saying that he thinks that decision that he made was a mistake in retrospect. Yeah, so you can probably dig that up in some film archives. But here's a real reason why I thought that we shouldn't have done it. Do you guys know when the Olympics started and where they started? Anybody? Greece, okay. Well, how long ago? Like thousands of years ago, right?
Like 500 BC.
There you go. Okay.
I think it was 650 BC.
Well, anyway, what was the point of the Olympics? Somebody who hasn't spoken so far. Somebody who hasn't spoken so far. What was the point of the Olympic Games as the Greeks thought of it?
That running is good.
Okay. So athletics are a really high form of the use of the human body. Yeah.
Wasn't it like for Zeus or something like that?
For Zeus. So it was a tribute to the gods. But what about the actual process itself of the games? What did that mean?
Well, nowadays, the Olympics is to hold the world together.
Okay. And what was it back then?
Because of the rings, that's why the rings.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So what was it back in if you were a Greek way back when, what would you be thinking? Oh, here comes the Olympics. Okay, now's a chance to. Yeah.
The Olympics were used, I think they were supposed to be for exercising to keep people in shape, but also to be a tribute to the gods.
Tribute to the gods. But what happened? Like, say 2 countries were at war with each other, which is like all happening all the time. Yeah.
One of them, or like 2 different people would go inside it and just fight.
Well, there was wrestling. That's for true. There was track and stuff like that too. Yeah.
To bring peace.
Right. If there was a war going on between Greece and another country, what did those countries do when it came time to have the Olympics? Yeah.
They both have to go to the Olympics unless they boycotted it, and then they have to deal with it.
I don't know if they boycott. I don't know if there's any historical record of boycotts in the Olympics because
It was allowed, actually.
I don't know if it was. You guys, anybody find that information in your studies? I don't know. I'm not a historian. I'm a biologist. But I will tell you this, the attitude of the Greeks was that the Olympics was a chance for all warring people to stop fighting for just a moment and to come together in competition in athletic events, okay? And so fighting was suspended. People got together as a way to try to bridge the gaps between themselves when they were having disputes at other levels. And I felt like the Russians had invaded Afghanistan. The Olympics were not going to the Olympics was not the message that we wanted to send to the world. We wanted to somehow, try to unite the U.S. with the rest of the world. Now, Russia wasn't behaving very well at all, to say the least. And, I wrote this long series of letters, but actually, you don't know this. I'm going to tell you. There's a letter. Here we go. You can see it. See the letterhead? What does it say on it? Somebody read it.
United States Olympic Committee.
United States Olympic Committee. Okay. In March, I received this from the president of the Olympic Committee. He writes, "Dear Dave, in view of President Carter's statement of March 21st, 1980 on athletes boycotting the Olympic Summer Games, we feel it is appropriate at this time to let you know the Athletes Advisory Council's position on the issue." So what we actually did as an advisory council, I wasn't part of the council, but I was part of the group, was we put a proposal forward to Jimmy Carter, and we suggested that the spirit of the game should be upheld, that as the Greeks originally envisioned them, and that what we should do is an alternative. And what we presented as a plan was to, first off, the athletes would participate in the games. Okay, so the athletes would actually, the U.S. athletes and all other countries' athletes would go to the Olympic Games. But here would be the limitations. Each team would arrive in the Soviet Union immediately before its competition. This is important. Only the flag bearer would participate in the opening ceremonies. Okay, so when the opening ceremonies and all the athletes walk in, this would have been all the countries that objected to Russia's actions in Afghanistan would have just walked in with just a single person as an objection. Athletes will remain in the training facilities or Olympic Village during the period of the Games. Athletes will not participate in any victory ceremony, will not engage in any tourist activity, and will leave the Soviet Union immediately following their competition. And athletes will also not compete in the closing ceremony. And the Advisory Council felt that this was a way of allowing the athletes to participate, but also making a statement to the world of the objection that they had to the actions of Russia, of the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. Okay, so what happened? Somebody tell me. After this letter, after Jimmy Carter was sent this, after we revised it and so on and so forth, somebody who hasn't said a word so far.
Does that make sense, you guys, that they were upset, right, that they didn't get to participate. So they came up with another idea that might be some sort of compromise, right? So the Olympians sent this letter to the president. What happened? Did he go with their idea?
No.
What happened?
He didn't.
Brody?
What?
They boycotted the race, I think.
What's that?
They boycotted the Olympics.
That's right, they boycotted the Olympics. And so each team was told that they couldn't go. The Olympic teams had already been chosen. I mean, the squads were already set and ready to go. And for me, personally, I also found last night the schedule of all the places that we went in Europe as an Olympic team and raced in all these different places as a warm-up to the Olympic Games. So the Olympics if you're on an Olympic team, you don't just go straight over there. There's a lot of other races that you're involved in before you actually are in the Olympic races. So we went over to Europe and we raced in a whole lot of different races. And then at the end of the last race before we were supposed to go to Moscow, we were told that for sure Jimmy Carter was not going to allow us to go. And so we all were very upset, and we all got on the plane and flew back to the United States. I'm very patriotic. My dad was career military, and if something happened that threatened this country, I would die to defend this nation. but I just didn't feel like this was an effective way to get the point across that we were trying to get across. However, I want to say, and I want to emphasize this really strongly, that I believe that President Carter was doing what he really felt was morally the very best thing to do. And I will tell you that of all the presidents that I am familiar with and have studied, I think President Carter was one of, you could say a lot of things maybe about him, but he was one of the most moral and upright and upstanding people that we've ever had serve as a president of the United States. So I think what he did from his heart, okay? And so I could never personally feel bad about him personally because he made that decision. Because I really, in my heart, believe he made it believing that was the very best thing to do. And anytime anybody does that, you work from your heart, I got to admire you. That's all there is to it. However, I did get a letter from the White House. There it is. Does it say the White House on it?
No, I can see it. Okay, now I can.
White House. And this letter from the White House has the presidential seal on it.
Ooh la la.
And it says, the President and Mrs. Carter request the pleasure of your company at a reception to be held at the White House on Wednesday afternoon, July 30th, 1980 at 5 o'clock to honor the 1980 U.S. Summer Olympic team. Cool, huh? So what they actually did, let's see if we covered kind of the topics that we wanted to cover here. So somebody asked, did you understand why the president pulled out, or were you mad? Yes and yes. I did understand, and I was still mad. I didn't agree with the president's decision at the time. If I were the president, I think I would have tried to take a little bit less harsh approach and still objected to what Russia was doing. Now, that was in those days, and you know, I'll talk about that in just a minute. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit in a little while how I feel nowadays about the whole thing. But before that, what I want to tell you is that this letter from President Carter and his wife to me and the other members of the Olympic team was part of an event that the government, the United States government, put on after the 1980 Olympics. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to show the appreciation of the sacrifice that the athletes had made by training for so many years and then being denied the chance to actually compete in the games after they made the team. And so we had a whole bunch of things. We went to U.S. Congress. Who's been to Washington, D.C.? Who's been to the steps of the Congress? Yeah? Who's been to the White House? Who's taken like a White House tour? You guys, pretty impressive place, huh? So they had dinner for us at the White House. And then we had a meeting at the Congress, and they, amongst many other things, because none of us could earn gold medals in the Olympics, they gave all of us an individual medal. And that's what I asked you guys to look up. What did I ask you guys to look up? Yeah?
The Congressional Medal of Honor.
Yeah, actually it's the Congressional Gold Medal. I think I might have misspoken. Did you look up Medal of Honor? That was my fault. I'm sorry. Congressional Medal of Honor is actually, I mistyped it, sorry, I should have written it correctly. Congressional Medal of Honor is for people who are wounded in wars, right, and who show bravery in the field of battle. Congressional Gold Medal is a civilian honor. It's the highest civilian distinction in the United States that can be given. And they brought us, and they gave all the Olympic athletes a Congressional Gold Medal. Okay, and they had us, and so that's a picture. I'm right there. I'm right in that picture. Got my arms up with everybody else. I'll pass it around. You guys can look at this. We're going to start doing show and tell time, so you can look at it. And so they really honored us by having us come to Washington, and they gave speeches, and they gave us medals and things like that. Okay, so the medal that they actually gave us was this U.S. Congressional Gold Medal. Okay. So there it is, and you can take it out, look at the back and the front. Don't take it, okay, because I don't have any replacements. And just take a look at that. You can go through and just pass it around. Everybody gets to take a look at it. This is why I want you to wash your hands. And then also the U.S. Olympic Committee gave us each a gold medal to commemorate the Olympic Games and the fact that we all couldn't go as well. So I'll pass this one around. You guys can pass it around. Take a look at it. don't drool on these or anything, okay? All right?
We wouldn't.
All right. And then what I want to tell you about was also when we made the Olympic team, we went and we got all of these, as part of this week-long trip, we got all of these Olympic clothes that had been planned for us. You know how the Olympians walk in opening ceremonies and all their stuff? I still have my 10-gallon white Stetson hat, and I tried to put my shirt on to wear it in, that I was going to walk into with the opening ceremonies. But I've gained a little bit too much weight in the last couple of years, and so it didn't quite close. Anyway, it was really gaudy. But here's the thing. We used to kid around about the fact that if you were an Olympian and you went to the place where they were going to outfit you for the Olympic Games, you could walk in the door with your underwear, and you would walk out with completely dressed in a fancy outfit and 2 suitcases full of goods and all sorts of stuff. I got hair dryers, toothbrushes, you name it, I got it. Everything you could possibly think of, they gave you, and all of it had something about being an Olympic athlete on it. Yeah.
Is that medal solid gold or is it just plate?
I don't know. I never dug into it to find out. I don't think it's solid gold. Yeah, it's probably not solid gold. The Congressional Medal of Honor. Don't tear at it, you guys, please. That's only been given to several hundred people in the United States since George Washington received the first one about 240 years ago. But the deal with this is that every single member of the Olympic team got these, okay? And so can you imagine 450 here, let me help you try to open it up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make it simpler, and I'm just going to take it out. There you go.
Is that pure?
Every single member of the Summer Olympic team in 1980 got one of these gold medals. Now, traditionally when Congress makes them, they make them out of solid gold. So George Washington's is solid gold, Abraham Lincoln's is solid gold, the Wright brothers, who also got these, solid gold, George Patton. There's a whole list of really famous people that is a list that I probably don't deserve to be on. But anyway, I'm on it along with the other members of the Olympic Committee. Yeah. Do you want to? No?
So that medal is solid gold?
So that medal is, I know for sure, not solid gold, because the U.S. couldn't afford to make like 450 solid gold medals. Maybe they could have afforded to, but they decided not to, huh?
Too much to get already.
I bet it would be a lot of money.
It would be a lot of money. And so they actually just gold-plated them. So that's a gold-plated medal. It's probably not worth very much money, but anyway. Yeah, it's kind of worth something here, Okay, any questions so far?
Given the times that you guys had in training and given the times that happened in the 80 Olympics, how would you guys have done?
So the question was, based on our speeds, how well would we have done? And rowing's a tricky thing in terms of a sport, because you're out in nature, and so you have the wind blowing, you may be in a river where there's a little bit of a current, or even sometimes the water itself may just be a little bit more buoyant, maybe there's a little salt in or whatever. And so between races, your times can actually vary a lot. And it's not like track or something where this guy's got, a 100th of a second faster, and so he's probably going to win. So it's always a little hard to tell in rowing. The year before, we'd taken 8th in the world. And I thought we were faster the next year, but we didn't have a chance to find out. I think we would have been in competition, but in those days, doping was a big thing. There was a lot of illegal drug usage in the Eastern Bloc. Because remember, at this time, there was the Soviet Union. Somebody tell me what the Soviet Union, somebody in the back row, tell me what the Soviet Union was. Does it exist today?
I don't know if it exists today, but they were the same people, I think, who took over Hitler.
Okay. All right, good. They certainly, they were, yeah?
I think it was still out in like 1991.
Well, but what is the Soviet Union? I mean, what was it?
The Soviet Union is the government of Russia.
Mm-hmm. And?
The government of Russia.
Anybody else? Soviet Union included Russia and was primarily run by Russia, but it also included a lot of other countries that Russia had taken over and was overseeing the activities of. And so when when the Soviet Union no longer exists, and when it ceased to exist, then Russia was by itself, along with a lot of independent countries again that had regained their own freedom. Okay, so yeah.
What medal is that?
I'll get to that in just a second. So anyway, so the Olympics, as I was telling you, was where you could walk in your underwear and come out in a complete outfit. So one of the things they actually gave us was an Olympic belt with an Olympic belt buckle. So I thought you guys might be interested in seeing this. So there's not a lot to it, but anyway, here it is. You can pass it around and take a look at it. So that was part of the opening ceremonies outfit. Yeah.
How many years of training did it take to achieve that?
For me, it took about 6 years of training. And when I was really seriously training, I trained between 4 and 5 hours a day. So I basically had a part-time, I graduated from college and I had a part-time job, and I would just work like part-time at my job, and then I would go and train. So kind of was really poor. I had almost no money. And so most you see some of these Olympians are like Michael Phelps or whatever. They're really high profile and they do amazing things, and then they get amazing sponsorships and things like that. But you have to remember, there's 550 or something Olympians on the team this year, and out of all those people, how many do you actually know the names of? Most of them do what I did. They go and they do their sport. They make the team. They do their best. Maybe they get a medal. Maybe they don't. And then they go back to their normal life. And then you walk back out on the street, and you're just a normal person again, and off you go. So most of the Olympics is not about making money or getting tons of recognition or anything like that. It's more about achieving a goal, and performing at your best. Other questions?
Did you ever feel that feeling I just forgot what I was going to ask.
Well, I'll tell you about a feeling I did have, because I was about to come to this anyway. So I want to tell you, yeah. Oh, you're yawning, or you're...
Why did you not go to the Olympics the next year?
That's a great question, and that was something that I was going to come to too. That's a very good question. So the question was, why didn't I go to the Olympics? Why didn't I go to the Olympics in 1984? And a lot of my teammates did. In fact, most of my teammates stayed around and raced in the '84 Olympics. And in the '84 Olympics, my boat lost to Canada for the gold medal by 1/100 of a second. And they were all mad at me because they said if I'd been in the boat with all my experience and such, they probably would have won the gold medal that year. That was in Los Angeles in 1984. But I was 23 years old, and I always wanted to be a biologist. And I knew that if I stayed around for another 4 years, I'd be 27 years old. And I didn't see any way that I could possibly become a biologist if I stayed around for 4 more years. And training and being a scientist are both really take a lot of effort and time. And so I couldn't do the both of them, so I just made a choice. And the other thing was I felt like the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc countries of Europe were going to boycott the next games, and it wouldn't be as fun because you wouldn't get to race against some of the best teams in the world. Guess what happened in 1984? Anybody know? The Russians and the East Germans and the other Eastern Bloc countries boycotted the Los Angeles games. They weren't there. They weren't there, so.
Why did they boycott?
I don't know, I'm not Russian.
Because U.S. boycotted because
Good possibility.
of revenge.
Good possibility, I don't know. Yeah.
I wonder what qualities or characteristics that made you an Olympic athlete also helped make you a successful biologist and follow your next dream.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I was going to talk about a little bit later, but it's perfectly fine to talk about that now. So the things that made me an Olympian were, one, I actually am a pretty good athlete. I just didn't know it at the time. But I also work really, really hard, and I'm really goal-oriented. So like I said, I trained 4, sometimes 5 hours a day to make the Olympic team, and I went through a lot of pain, and I gave up a lot of sacrifices in my personal life in order to achieve that goal. So I'm hardworking, goal-oriented, and maybe most importantly of all, just not giving up. If you want something, you've got to go for it. And I'll tell you, you might think like being an Olympic athlete is something special, like, oh, you walk around and everybody, you know, oh, you're an Olympic athlete. Almost nobody I know actually knows I'm an Olympic athlete. I mean, you don't go around telling people, oh, and by the way, I was an Olympic athlete, you know, when I was younger. That's kind of like bragging and stuff, and I wouldn't do that. So people don't really know for the most part. So I think it's the qualities of being an Olympic athlete that actually helped me to become a biologist too. I was really hardworking, I was really goal-oriented, and I never gave up. And when people told me, you know, when I thought about giving up and people told me, keep going, you know, I listened to them and I kept going. So optimism, you guys got to believe in yourselves. That's all it is. But don't think that when you become an Olympic athlete, all of a sudden you're like successful and you have a successful life for the rest of your life. We got together for the Seoul Olympics in 1998. The Olympics were in Seoul, and there was this big party do you know where Disneyland is, everybody? Yeah. Disneyland is where? Not Disney World.
Oh, California.
Yeah, it's in Anaheim, California. So I was in Los Angeles as a biology student at the time, and they asked all of the former Olympians in California to come to Disneyland and have a big send-off for the Olympic team to send them to Seoul to give them good luck. And they had a big parade in Disneyland and all this stuff. And they gave me a medal there too. And so I thought I'd bring this medal along as well, because this was given to me from Disneyland. There it is. What do you think, you guys? I'll pass it around.
I don't think that's gold plated.
I don't think it's anything plated, but it was kind of fun. They had all these red convertibles, and we got to sit on the backs of the red convertibles and wave to everybody like this, you know, at Disneyland. So that was kind of fun. Yeah, exactly. I did the wash the window things that the Queen does, you know. So anyway, so that was kind of a fun thing. From time to time, I get to go to. Anybody not seen this? Here, can you pass that towards the back? Anybody who hasn't seen it, take a look at it.
I haven't seen the
Huh?
On the side it says it's not gold, it's bronze. It said on the
Does it say it? Yeah, that's so people won't steal it. Yeah, okay. Other questions? Yeah.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see this? Here you go. You know, also, if you guys haven't seen anything at the end, you guys can all come up and take a look at this stuff.
Yes, let's hold off on passing it around, okay? Well, if you missed something, we'll check it out in a minute, okay?
Okay. All right, yeah, we'll just leave this stuff up. You guys can come up and, you know. Huh?
I really feel like wearing that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where I'd wear it. I just sort of put it in my closet, and then I don't really, not much happens to it. Okay, so now I wanted to show you some show and tell time. I want to show you some jerseys. In rowing, what we do is we get a whole bunch of extra jerseys, and then we trade with people from other countries, okay? And so I want to show you some of the jerseys. This is just a couple of them that I collected over the years. Guess where this is from?
Ireland.
Right, Ireland. Anybody want to see it? Maybe you see it. You can come up and see it later. Where's this one from?
Italy.
Looking at France, right. This is a French Olympic jersey. Okay, cool. I'm going to give you some tough ones. Well, this is a really tough one. Wait. Who's?
Germany.
Good, you got it. I can't believe you got it. You're exactly right. So in those days, there was a West Germany and an East Germany. So this was the Olympic racing jersey of the West German Olympic team. Okay, this is going to be a really tough one. Ready? Where is this from?
New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand, yeah. Sorry, what?
Black combat.
Black?
You drive a black combat.
No. All right. Now, here's the toughest one of all.
East Germany.
Good for you. This is East Germany. This is extremely rare. This country doesn't exist anymore, okay? This is now part of all of Germany. And the East Germans, they were the best team in the entire world because they doped. And so that was a pretty hollow victory for them, wasn't it? But you know how I got this shirt? I'm going to tell you a quick story. It was at one of our international races, and we were staying in this hotel, me and 3 other of my teammates. And so we were going back to our room one evening, and all of a sudden, we're opening our door in the hallway, and the hallway's empty. And all of a sudden, we hear this, psst, psst. We're looking around, and we look, and across the hallway, the door is open like a crack, like this big. And We're looking at each other, and it was only Olympians that were staying in this hotel. So we go, yeah. They go, come here. And so we're big, you know, our average size is like 6'4", or about 220 pounds or so. That was our average size. Some guys were 6'8". And so we weren't too worried about going into this room, but it was dark. So we go into this room, and there's all these guys standing in the dark. And this is a true story. I'm telling you the truth. These guys, and these East Germans are built like refrigerators. I mean, they're 6'8", they're 260 pounds, and they're like 1% body fat, you know? Just huge. I'm looking, I'm going, whoa, are we gonna get killed? Or, I mean, you know, what are these guys, what are the guys gonna do? And there were about like 6 or something of them, so we were outnumbered too. They close the door, and they go, and they had these jerseys in their hand. They go, jerseys, money. And so they go, yeah, money. And so we're like, how much? A lot of money. And we go, because US dollars were impossible to get there. And so they were really, really valuable. And so I pulled $10 out of my pocket, and I go, $10? And he goes, yeah. And he takes it, and he takes it, and I take the shirt, and my other teammates are all doing these transactions at the same time, right? Then all of a sudden, the door bursts open, and 3 East German coaches, including the head East German coach, come storming in. And the lights are on, and we're all doing this. I'm not kidding you. We're stuffing these jerseys up our shirts, and these guys are stuffing the money in their pockets. Because see, they could lose their jerseys, right? They couldn't trade their jerseys because they couldn't take a U.S. jersey back to their home country, but they could lose their jerseys and get money in return. And so the East German coach said, "What's going on here? What's going on here?" And we were all like, Nothing, we're just talking, you know, everything. We'll leave now, you know, we go out. And anyway, so there it is. And, you know, I got my jersey, I didn't get beat up. And then.
What were you saying about the East Germans? Why are their jerseys like
Special? Because they don't exist anymore.
why don't
The country is now a part of Germany.
So it's super rare now?
It's extremely rare.
So
Yeah.
the West and the East Germany became Germany?
Yeah, they were reunited. The Berlin Wall came down. It was quite a momentous occasion. You remember that? Okay, what's this country? CCCP.
I don't know what that is.
Anybody?
Canada?
No?
No, Canada is
That's right, Canada. Oh, I thought I brought my Canada shirt. I didn't. Anybody? How about one of the older adults?
I cannot think of it. CC.
Is it the Soviet Union?
It's the Soviet Union. That's right. Moscow. This was the jersey of the Soviet Union. So it stands in Russian for Confederate something, I don't know, Republic, I don't know. But anyway, it's there for Russian, and I had a Russian guy, and it's made out of wool. It's a wool sweatsuit, and I have the bottoms too. I just didn't bring any of that stuff along. But you know, you can come up and see it afterwards. But what you'll find is that, amazingly, even though this was their national team jersey, it's like really cheaply made. I mean, it's amazing. I think they were really suffering economically. You know, they didn't have much money as a country. And
if they go somewhere warm and then they have to.
yeah, they had other jerseys too, but this is just the one I happened to trade for them. And what I traded for this, guess what? I traded for this. It's an item of clothing.
A jersey.
No, item of normal, regular clothing.
Underwear.
No. No, keep going. What else?
Hats.
Wait, somebody said it. Pants. What kind of pants?
Jeans?
Jeans.
No, regular long pants, but what kind of pants? What kind of pants are like really fashionable back in those days?
Slack.
I have them on, it's a hint, although they're not denim.
Jeans.
Jeans. Who makes jeans? Like back in my day, who made jeans? You know, they still make them. Levi, exactly. Levi Strauss. Russians.
I can't believe I got that right.
You did. Russians felt that Levi Strauss jeans were incredibly valuable. They would give anything for them because they couldn't get them in Russia. And so the guy came up to me and said, "I'll give you my tracksuit." And I said, "What for?" And he goes, "You're Levi's." Like, okay. So, I mean, we went someplace else to make the exchange, and I did get the track pants with it as well. But anyway, he was happy, I was happy, and I have this Russian outfit. Compare this. Yeah.
And you're also
These are not only extremely rare now, they just don't exist. This may be one of the few left in the entire world. I don't know. There aren't very many of them, though. Compare that to this.
Oh my God, I want that. What is
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Okay?
Oh, it's made out, it's from Levi's.
Yeah, I'll pass it around. You guys can all see this. Okay? And this was made, you know what, this was made, the colors, so that when you were on the when you were on the medal stand and you'd won a gold or silver or bronze and you put your arms up in the air, you did this V, white V for victory like that. But compare the quality of this to the quality of this. That's just an indication of what the difference was in the Olympics, in the Olympic funding for their programs. I'll pass it around, sure.
My dad's name is Levi.
How about that? I know somebody named Levi. This was one of my racing jerseys. I had about 6 or 8 of them, but this was the tank tops that we actually raced in,
So beautiful.
or would have raced in if we'd gone to the Olympics. We raced in these all across Europe because, like I said, we raced all the way up until when we had to come back to the United States because of the boycott. So you know, anyway, so that's kind of show and tell for you guys. But here's something I want to just say to you, and that is about Jimmy Carter and
After seeing all this, I can tell that somebody would pay a lot of money for all the stuff in that bag.
I don't know. To me, it's priceless.
I feel
But-
like I would pay $100 for it.
$100 sold. I'll tell you, that sounds good to me.
Okay, friend.
Okay, I want to tell you guys.
Hey, friend.
I want to tell you guys one more thing, and that's like how I felt, you know, after the Olympics, and now it's been many, many years. 1980 was a long time ago, right? So here, I'll take it if you want. You pass it around if you want. I did a lot of thinking about the fact that I had worked so hard. Here, why don't you, here, just here.
Thank you.
You guys can come up and look at this stuff later. I did a lot of thinking about how I had been, you know, unable to compete in the Olympic Games after I worked so many years and so hard, and I sacrificed so much. And I have a naturally optimistic personality. And so I think over the years what happened was I started really looking on the bright side of the situation. And now I'm fine with what happened. And here's why. First off, and this is really true for all you guys, I made the Olympic team. That was a huge goal that I actually attained, okay? I never really had the goal of performing in the Olympic Games. I had the goal of being on the Olympic team. And there were a lot of really, really good rowers and a lot of really, really good divers and swimmers and track athletes and you name the sport, really, really good, who came this close to making an Olympic team and they didn't. There's a lot of people who were the last person cut before the squad was formed for whatever sport they were in, okay? I wasn't one of those people. And so you know what? That is amazing because sometimes it can be tenths of a second that makes the difference between you and the person who got cut. So and this is something that I have, it was a goal that I actually was able to accomplish. The second thing is that, and this is the most important thing for all you guys, it's not about achieving the goal. Now I'm a lot older than I was, and what's really important is about the journey of getting to the goal. You have to decide what you like to do and what you want to do with whatever it is that you like. And for me, every day I went out rowing, I can tell you I loved it. I loved the experience. I got a really strong body because of it. I met a lot of wonderful people. I had a lot of great experiences. And so it was the path that I was on that took me all the way from a freshman in college who was 160 pounds up to an Olympic athlete at 23 years old who was 225 pounds and an Olympian. That whole path, I enjoyed it all. It was rocky. It was difficult sometimes. You know, there's a Zen saying, you guys know Zen Buddhism, that is that the journey is the obstacles. And I really believe that that's true. Your path is what's important, not the actual final goal. If I'd made the if we'd been able to actually go and compete in the Olympic Games, it would have been 5 or 6 days of really amazing stuff. And then it would have been over, you know? And so the time before and the time after wouldn't have been any different. So yeah, I miss walking in and opening ceremonies. I miss competing there. I'd already competed a lot internationally, so it wasn't like I missed out on a chance to compete internationally. So I really count my blessings because I was able to achieve a goal that I really felt was important for me to achieve. And I really enjoyed what it did to my life along the way. And I think that's true for all of you guys. So one of the things that's the most important thing of all is it's not about the goal, it's about the journey. It's about trying to enjoy every step along the way. And success to me is not making the goal, it's going out and it's trying as hard as you can every day at whatever it is you love and doing the best job you can. And you know what my current Olympic goal is? Well, I'm already a biologist and I was already an athlete. So guess what my current Olympic goal is? This is a goal that I'm never going to get a gold medal for, never be written up in the newspapers for or anything. My goal is to be the best husband and father of my 2 children that I can possibly be. And I know I'm not going to get any gold medal at the end of that, but I already know that it's the process, that every day I like being with my kids. And when I put an effort out with those kids and I see them growing and developing, it just makes me feel like I'm living my life the right way. And I go to sleep really easily every night. That's it. Thanks for having me.